Welcome to Solutions Rising. I'm Rachel Branch, and I am once again honored and thrilled that Professor Steve Bernstein is joining me today, an exemplary teacher and an incredible author of Stories from the Stoop. And on this program, we're going to talk about how he became a teacher, his involvement with young people. And I was fortunate enough in Professor Gloria Caballero Roca's class in Holyoke to watch Professor Bernstein interact with the students in her class, and it was an amazing class. We're going to talk about his authorship, and I'm going to let him proceed with whatever he would like to talk about, his background, but then leading into his teaching experience. But I do want to read from his book, The Valley Advocate, Stories from the Stoop. Whoops, that way. The Valley Advocate, praise for Stories from the Stoops. Quote, Stories from the Stoops is a collection of stories which reads like Frank McCourt's Angela's Ashes, but set in the Bronx, and Jack Kerouac's On the Road. It follows Bernstein's life through friends, family, and a special dog named Wolf, who likely saved his life. The stories portray the harsh realities of realism, street life, and living with a drunk dad, but also the joys of friendship, playing basketball, and young love. Welcome, Steve. What an honor it is for me to have you as a guest again on Solutions Rising.
Thank you, Rachel.
Where would you like to begin? I think probably just a little background on who you are, anything you would like to share about your background with our audience.
First of all, I find it interesting that you refer to me as professor. I've been called a lot of things in my life, and I guess I must have shown you something that probably taught you that I maybe am a teacher or a professor, because I've always stayed out of the system, except for 1 year where I decided to give it a shot. But as far as young people go, I suppose a little part of my mind as a young person who had a very tough, challenging upbringing, there was a part that said, I'm going to help other young people when I get older, because I don't ever want anybody to go through what I'm going through. What is that? A really tough alcoholic father who I love and loved, but very complicated, very challenging. Most would say abusive, if not worse. A tough time to live in a tough place, the 60s in the Bronx, largely the South Bronx, especially for a white kid. So somewhere along the line, and I remember a couple instances where I was watching my old man's behaviors towards me and elsewhere, and I said, man, I am never going to be that. So sometimes a teacher, at least for me, shows you the things you don't want to be, you won't aspire to. It's almost as good as having somebody you look up to. At least it helps with some vow to yourself that you will never do that. So, like I said, I came from an alcoholic home. Chaos, abuse, violence, being exposed, in my case, because I was the chosen child, being exposed, brought to places that a young person should never see. It could be backroom deals, it could be bars, it could be prostitutes, it could be always mostly very alcohol imbued environments, meaning yelling, screaming, violence, and inappropriateness, as well as irresponsibility with a kid around. So,
and that leaves an indelible mark on your life that also sets the trajectory of what you're going to become or not become, I would imagine.
Well, it poses the question that most people ask once they get to know me, especially reading my book. How come you didn't go the other way? And I don't have an answer for that. All I know is my life experiences, my relationships, certainly parental relationship with a mother who was meek and mild and a father who was anything but, and being exposed to the things I mentioned. And then on the street, my life on the street, I saw it all. I witnessed it all. I got beaten. I got, I got a new knee. It's 2 months old right here. Story number 4 tells you how that started, with a baseball bat to the knees because I was in love with a Puerto Rican girl. And that was like West Side Story. You don't do that.
Yep.
But I didn't follow those rules and loved her anyway. At any rate,
Love cannot be stopped.
well,
It might be the savior of everything that's going on in the chaos in the world now.
Yes.
Is love has just got to overcome the hate.
you ain't gonna stop love.
Can't
And
stop it.
a baseball bat to the knees was nothing.
Yep.
It gave me a life of arthritis, but so did being a plumber and an athlete. Anyway, so at I'm going to say 24 years old, I was married and divorced by 23. I got married very young, 17, 18. Traumatic for me to end it, but it needed to end for a variety of reasons. And I found myself gravitating towards thinking about my life in a much bigger way. And what evolved for me is a decision based on an invitation to sponsor a group of kids, young people, who come from alcoholic homes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
They
yes.
were. Oh, my goodness.
It was called the Alateen Program.
Oh, I know. Yes, that program.
And this was when I eventually finally landed in New Hampshire and stayed there for many, many years after. And that was my beginning. I eventually grew to, and I just want to say two other things. That young woman I was in love with, I'm in touch with today.
That's wonderful.
I Googled her and found her 10, 12 years ago. And we talk at least once a day.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then out of the blue, about 2 years ago, a young man, he's 60 years old, was a young man in that group that I told you I was a sponsor of, found me. And we had lunch and we talked about life, and he's in my life.
Those are just
I know.
joys that you never expect that show
Well-
up when you least expect them.
Thank God for Google. That's all I could say.
Yeah, there's
So-
so much good about it.
Yeah, so my Alateen work evolved and evolved to where I eventually became what's called the state coordinator, and I helped bring it to many, many areas of the state, train sponsors, and got the program really vibrant in my time. And then, so that started in late 70s. About 1990, I decided to go to school for the first time, get a bachelor's degree, eventually get a master's degree, and started a nonprofit organization for that exact purpose, to help young at-risk youth. I'd say young, it could be 14 to 23 or something like that. Overcome some obstacles, get a leg up, get a GED, learn a trade, learn a career, connect them in the community through mentors I trained, and help them evolve beyond their so-called destiny that was not necessarily so. And the name of that organization that I founded was called Compassionate Connections.
My goodness.
And it was based on basically mentoring from the community, your very own community of people, once they're trained, adults who have something to share. They could be sharing, usually since I'm a tradesperson, I believe that young people should have a vocation. And that was part of the mission of my organization, if possible. So I always looked for mentors who had some skills to teach. And so much so that the federal government, of all places, loved my idea, because they knew that kind of involvement helps offset youth crime, helps offset youth on the dole. So,
Well, I also think young people that come from chaos,
Yeah.
if they see someone and you've been there and understand, listening and believing and standing by
Well,
there and being support, that can just change everything in their life.
That's the whole principle of
You
this
bet.
work.
Yep.
And that's what connected young people to me. I just wasn't some other white guy for a few minutes in their life telling them some stories about, you can do better, you should really do that. I would never judge, I would never say should. It would be more like learning how they learn
And
so
of
I could teach them
And
and
of course,
others
part
can
of
teach
it is your fantastic storytelling. And when people hear stories, including me, and telling stories, when you hear those stories, you can relate and you can learn and you could say, oh, I understand this. Oh my goodness.
them. It's all stories.
This is my life. And I want you to go. Yes, and we're
Well, no,
getting
I want
ready.
to show you something.
We're getting ready.
Obviously, this is my new latest edition, hardcover. Rachel asked to gift, she wants to gift 10 of these to friends. So I took each page, and this is the inscription on every one of them. And I signed it. You put in your friends' names. It says, our stories are our life. These are mine. Enjoy.
Okay.
Stories are life.
And you can hold that up. Dave will.
Well, I got to hold it in there.
Okay, you got to hold it.
Because if I'm looking there, it feels like I'm looking down the
You're
block.
looking over here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
right.
Anyway, so it's up to you to put the names in.
Yes, I'm delighted.
So that was Compassionate Connections and went from 98 to 02. New administration, didn't focus on things like my organization, lost my funding. And there were other funders, but it wasn't enough.
Yep.
So I decided to retire from that and then go back to plumbing and developed another little program called Aim High. And it was called Apprenticeship, Internship, Mentorship for High School Youth. And it's take a handful of young people in the community who wanted to and literally teach them trades. And they became my crew with some master tradespeople mentoring. So the business was a hybrid where I got funding for that very aspect of it, but also made a living because they were my crew, and there was very few times that they violated any boundaries. But there were some. I have to admit, there was some stealing and other stuff. But basically, that was a beautiful experience, and the customers ate it up. They loved the idea of helping young people like that.
Oh yes, the meeting, and you're changing lives.
You go in, it was a remodeling company, bathrooms and kitchens. You go in, you're doing a nice bathroom or kitchen, and they see these young people that they may have encountered elsewhere, whether they're kids in school and these were the bad guys, or kids on the street. And
Even those who might have been a little difficult, you never know.
You
2,
never
3,
know.
5, or 10 years down the road, it might click, and they whoa.
Well, I believe-
but they've got the substance, they've got the background, they've got the experience, so they are equipped if they want to turn their lives
well,
around.
think about it. What are they missing? I know we all got to grow through our childhood stuff, but if you're not going to get some skill to offer society, society pays you for that skill that's valuable. You don't have that sense within you in our capitalistic world
Yep.
of being important. You don't. It ends up. Those are our failures, sadly. That's why anytime somebody asks me on a very practical level, what's the best way to help kids? Teach them a trade. I know they do it in other countries, and I know, we got our issues, but with the green movement and everything else, I think you'll see more of it.
I did it with the summer youth employment program,
Yes,
the
that
Metro
kind of
Denver
thing.
Urban Coalition. But I'll tell you, the best thing I ever learned was how to type. I think,
Perfect.
wow.
Yeah.
I type over 100 words a minute now, but I want to make sure we have time
Yeah.
for you to talk about voices and do some reading.
Okay.
And go where you'd like to go, please.
Okay, so I told you I got a bachelor's, a master's. Eventually, I got a special ed degree.
Oh.
Everyone said, well, how does a plumber do this? It doesn't matter. To me, it makes sense a plumber did this. I have many stages of my life. Special ed degree. I actually got referred by the organization that helped me with my degree. They got me a job right away because they knew my background. Tough kids, trades. There was an opening at a technical high school, very, very depressed, last or next to last on the list in the whole state of Massachusetts for graduation, behavior, MCAS. It's a whole nother story,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yes,
So
which I'm not in favor of.
I
But
hit the ground running with that job and lasted less than a year. And there's reasons. I couldn't make it with the administration, the politics, and the attitudes. They warehouse young people. Not a
I
whole
think
lot
you
of
and I will
teaching.
have to
Yeah,
have
another
another
show.
show, another program on talking about
Okay.
really trying to get to young people being able to reach their potential in education. And I also know from the years I'm about 10 or 12 years older than you are, look at how trades, even for years and years, maybe even now, were looked down upon as if young people
We
who
need
were
a whole
going into
we need a whole
trade.
show.
Yes, we do.
We need a whole show.
And obviously, I'm setting you right up to be invited back if you would
Okay.
consider being a guest again.
I'm ready.
But I do want you to come back to
Okay.
Stories from the Stoop and tell us about Voices.
So voices. So I did this gig at this high school, learned a lot, and immediately after I resigned, I got a call from a friend who invited me to come and apply to be a teacher at the nonprofit she worked at. It's called the Care Center, and you know it well.
Yes.
In Holyoke, and it's for pregnant teens and teen moms to get on with life. They're usually 8th, 9th grade dropouts, kid or two or three, get the GED, and other wonderful cultural and humanities-based programs.
And I can't speak high enough about the Care Center. It is phenomenal.
So,
and of course, this
so
is,
much so, I was there for 12 years.
oh my goodness, I didn't realize
and
that.
when you saw me, I was kind of pulling out, aside from getting the new knee, I was pulling out of my position upstairs, and I met you downstairs at Professor Gloria's class,
At the Roberto Clemente program.
Clemente program,
Yes.
correct.
And of course, I lived in Bridgeport for 23 years, and
Oh.
Roberto Clemente was a big hero and a big hero.
What a hero! What a
Yes,
hero!
and phenomenal human being.
So I taught full time there, and then needed more time, and of course that's not exactly my shtick. So I was offered tutoring over the many years in various ways, and it was a beautiful time of my life because that population, that demographic, is what I grew up with, and I just fell in love with these students so much and really helped a lot of young women get their GEDs. And mainly my function was algebra, the math part of the test. And I never thought of myself as a math teacher, but again, I have to learn how they learn. And I could go and read any part of a textbook and teach it once I know it. And that's what we did for many, many, many years. And a few years ago, to get to your question, COVID motivated this. I was Zooming my lessons, and it was always just one or two students at a time, very focused, and I was able to really get some good work done, believe it or not, with Zoom. And then one day, it just dawned on me. These young women talk to me because that's who I am. And they tell me about their lives. And we do get to algebra because if you go check, a lot of my students pass that GED. But I found consciously what was evolving is there is not going to be any algebra unless we talk.
And of course, I come in December because Dr. Gloria Caballero Roca invited me to the class because you were teaching that class. And I watched you, and I was just overwhelmed emotionally and substantively watching you interact with the students and pulling them into participation. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think it's the most important thing a teacher can do is to bring their students into the their joint world.
Yes, exactly.
And it was phenomenal watching you. I was just
Think about it
so
for a second, though.
grateful that
I
I got an
know
opportunity to
beyond
see
a
you do
shadow of a doubt, I'm good at that, but I would never be that good unless that fabulous professor had it had the key words on the board and was engaging those students in much more broad context than my stories, socially, women's rights,
Yeah.
poverty, racism, misogyny, whatever subject through my stories was coming up, she pulled it in. And that's why there was, I never met those young women in my life. That was the first time. That's why there was this synergy as well. So Voices is that. After those Zoom lessons, I started to jot down notes. I was writing notes as we were learning, but create the dialogue that we had. And being a writer, I learned a new methodology, which was no narrative, all dialogue. The dialogue carries it strongly.
So, would you like to read?
I would.
Yes.
So the project is spoken word. My vision, called Voices, is myself and a student on a stage, practiced reading a script, which is one of the stories. And I already have a student in mind who wants to step up
Okay.
and work with me. The name of this story is called Ladybugs.
Ooh.
And again, dialogue only. Damn, mister, I'm so tired. My baby kept me up until 4:30 in the morning. He okay, Crystal? Yeah, the doctor said getting over something in his stomach. Crystal, somehow you're getting all the math answers right today. Yeah, mister, it's because you shouldn't be making bets with me that I'm going to get them wrong. You owe me $3 now. I know, you're going to make me broke if we keep this up. I thought because you're yawning so much, I wouldn't have to cough up any more dollar bills. How'd that go, mister? I think I'm smarter when I'm tired, maybe more relaxed. That's why I like to smoke weed. I got so much stress. I remember in middle school, once the teacher asked us about our life, what we're going to be when we get out of high school, and after that, I was 15, mister. So what was your answer, Crystal? Mister, I didn't want to do what my moms and grandma did, having kids young and no life. I was good in school, mister. I liked to study. I liked school, my friends. Some of my teachers were good. I was thinking of being a teacher. That was 2 years ago. I got Carlito now. Mister, you know what Carlito means? Yeah, kind of a nickname for Carlos. His dad is Carlos. Right, Crystal? Yeah, but that's not the reason. Carlito means free man. My boy's going to be free, mister. I'm so tired, mister. Sorry for yawning. It's okay, Crystal. You want to take a nap? I'll turn off Zoom. We'll finish this page of fractions in tomorrow's lesson. Mister, a nap? You're crazy. Truth is, mister, it's not just not sleeping. I've been smoking too much. When I move out of my mom's house, I'm going to stop. Why you say that, Crystal? Why would that be different? Mister, every day Carlos comes over after I get home from school and he brings blunts. Not only that, my stepdad is high all the time, smoking all day long. My mom used to do coke, so she thinks weed is no problem. She smoked too, Crystal? Yeah, maybe twice a day, not much. Brothers too, mister, even Junior, and he's only in 8th grade. Tito's in the 10th and he's trying hard, but he can't resist when we light up. So you see, if I can get away, I can stop. Carlito doesn't need all that shit going on, mister. What about Carlos, Carlito's baby daddy, Crystal? How are you going to keep him from coming over with blunts in the new place? I know, mister, that's the problem. He says he'll never leave me, never let me go. He told me I will always be his princess. Mister, when I think of princess, I think she's not real, a dream. Mister, he thinks I'm a dream. He thinks he owns me. Mister, I'm only 17. I wish I can go back to 9th grade and start over. Don't get me wrong. I love Carlito more than anything. I would die for him. But I wanted to get going on my life first. I get it, Crystal. Does smoking help you deal with shit? Yeah, mister. I wouldn't make it if I didn't smoke. The stress, mister. They gave me some pills. Who did, Crystal? The doctor. My mother made me go tell him about my stress. He said I was depressed. I think I am, mister. Sometimes I'm okay with thinking I should die. But when I think about Carlito and I stay strong, the pills make me real sick, stomach ache, throwing up. I couldn't focus, mister. I thought they were supposed to help my head, you know? Yeah, Crystal, I get it, so you smoke. Yeah, but too much, mister. I gotta slow down. I can't stay straight in my head, and now I feel like I can't stop. But when I move out, I'll be able to stop, mister. Why does everybody in school bother me about getting the vax? The way the counselors and the nurse and even my teacher keep at me about it. It gives me stress. Can't I have my own choice? They won't let up. So, Crystal, what is it about the vaccination you don't like? Mister, I don't want to get sick from it. Everybody I know got sick. You mean side effects, Crystal?
Whoa.
Yeah, mister. How long they last? Oh, they were better the next day or the day after, but I don't want to get sick at all. And on the news, I heard that it don't matter if you get the shot or not, you get the COVID anyway. I understand, Crystal. Mister, you're my tutor. You work for the school too. Why aren't you bugging me about it? Well, Crystal, I think you got to make your own decisions. But I'll tell you what, I do believe the stuff you're hearing about how bad the vax is isn't true. So if you ever want to hear what I think and what my research showed me about it, I'll tell you. My main thing for you is I'm not just worried for you, I worry for Carlito too, Crystal. Mister, you got your shot? Yeah, 3 of them. Okay, mister, I want to hear. Hey, mister, you know what happened? What, Crystal? I was on the porch outside yesterday, and there was thousands of ladybugs, mister. So many of them. I took Carlito out to see them with me. Mister, they're beautiful. When I saw them, I almost cried. Why is that, Crystal? My grandma told me they brought good luck. So think about it. With all those ladybugs, me and Carlito are going to be okay, mister.
Wow. I was just going to say ladybugs are good luck. And as we are now again at the end of our program, please, please come back.
My pleasure. I
I,
got a lot more stories to tell you,
I know.
Rachel.
And we have a lot more stories to share
Yeah.
with our viewing and, in some cases, listening audience. Thank you, Professor Steve Bernstein, for being my guest again on Solutions Rising. I look forward to many more programs, and I've segued you right into that. So, and if each one of us picked up one problem and solved it, imagine the incredible view we would all have of Solutions Rising. Please be part of the solution. And I think from Steve Bernstein, professor and teacher and author, we have a great deal of solutions to pass on to those that are in our lives who are suffering things you might not even know, but ways to also maybe mentor, maybe assist them. But anyway, please try to be part of the solution. Thank you.